Welcome back, and we have Barrister Elvis Asia joining us to discuss the recently concluded elections that just took place in River State. Barrister, please tell us, what is your thoughts, your opinions on the situation in Rivers?
These are questions we need to ask ourselves as a democracy, as a country, as relates to this particular election. I'm aware that the constitutionality, legality or otherwise, of the sole administrator of Rivers State is being challenged in various courts and even at the level of the Supreme Court. One would have thought that a major step, such as the conduct of local government election, wait till that is is resolved. But it is shocking that they have decided to go ahead, and I'm sure the desperation to go ahead is influenced by the fact that the 6 months period I believe, is expiring in a few days. And this obviously was one of the major reasons why that declaration was made, to ensure that those who pays the piper in the political sphere of Rivers State are able to determine who runs the local government system and by reason of that maintain their hold. There are so many issues. The Constitution, under Section 197, 198, and 200, makes provisions for the constitution of the membership, the chairman membership of the State Independent Electoral Commission, and that was to be done under the Constitution by the governor and confirmed by the House of Assembly. And the question you ask yourself is: this particular body that conducted the election, who appointed them? There's no room. There's no provision. There's no constitution, there's no exception that is created by the Constitution that allows a sole administrator to do that. And so it is very, very shocking that we are having that. And another issue that I'm worried about in this particular whole drama playing out in Rivers is what appears to be the silence of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The legality otherwise of the sole administrator was submitted to the court, and it is shocking that up to now, that issue has not been resolved. One would have thought that would be a matter of urgency that should cut short any vacation, any other thing that the court is doing. And the silence of the courts, of the judiciary on this matter, has emboldened the politicians to go ahead to conduct this election in a manner that is in gross violation of the constitution of this country. It is a sad day for democracy, and quite frankly, I'm worried for the future of our politics. And that the fact that the judiciary can allow politicians to, play politics outside of the rules in this manner is not something that would, ensure that the people have confidence in the judiciary. The CJN, has come up with some very important and interesting reforms. One would have thought that part of that reform would be to ensure that political cases such as this are handled quickly, in order to ensure that people get clarity, in order to ensure that the Constitution is put in order.
All right, sorry to cut you off, Barrister Elvis. So do you think that with the low voter turnout that we saw in River State, does this really mean that the election will be upheld? And what other legal unclarities have you noticed throughout this process?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't an election. The fact that the voters turnout, obviously, it's informed by the confidence of the people in the process. Country are often done in government houses, they are done in government sponsored venues and written. And that's one reality that we don't want to accept. And, and we dance around it. The local government elections across the country are usually not elections. You know we know what happened in 2024 in that same Rivers. When a footballer was there, he also used his influence and controled something that was eventually thrown out by the Supreme Court. And now that he doesn't have the political wherewithal now, whoever is having that political power has done the same thing. So what we see across the country, and particularly very glaring from Rivers, is that the local government elections are not usually done by the people. It is the politicians who write these results, and usually those who control the state, the government house at that time, are the ones who write these results in order to continue to maintain their hold. We don't have any democracy at government level. And so the voters turnout obviously will not count on the question of whether or not it was a legitimate process. But people are not participating because they don't see any good thing coming out from it. But there are other constitutional issues that arises with respect to the local election, which some of which I have mentioned. The fact that it's being conducted by an constitutional body, in fact, it's being conducted by somebody, a sole administrator who has no place in the constitution. There's no constitutional provision that gives the sole administrator powers to conduct any form of local government election. In fact, it's being conducted at a time when the legality or otherwise of the sole administrator is being tested by the courts, and and all of these, in my view, will show that this particular process is really grossly unconstitutional.
So we have our correspondent, Biola Festus, who has been covering the River State elections. Biola, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you give us an overview of what's going on right now in River State?
The announcement or declaration of results has just been concluded right here at the RISEC headquarters. Just a few minutes ago, we had the chairman of RISEC announce the results of the final result of the election has been collated from the local government levels. Now we had huge numbers coming in. We had some local government areas pulling up to 70,000 votes, up to 100,000 votes. Now, what is most significant in this announcement is that the APC had a landslide victory, if you like to say. They had 20 LGAs out of the 23 LGAs in the state. So I have an observer here, actually. He was out in the field yesterday to observe the election process. And of course, he's here today to see the results declaration. So we'd like to talk. Could you come forward, please? So, Mr. Obina, from the results declared so far, would you say this tallies with what happened out there in the field yesterday?
First of all, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Definitely the results that the RISEC chairman and his team announced this afternoon was from what they said, because I didn't participate at the local government collation to have been able to corroborate if that is exactly the reflection. But from what they have said there, it's a reflection of what they have received from the unit level up to the ward level, then to the local government level, and then hence it was actually announced at the state level this afternoon. As an election person, my only worry was that I would have wished that for more credibility and then a legitimacy from those who may want to express doubts. I would have wished that would have also gone in there to give us certain information about the number of accredited voters, for each of these local government areas. But they had gone straight to announce just the figures that were won by those that eventually were declared winners. Even just the winners are not even at the first, second, and third. Usually in elections for the sake of transparency. But that wouldn't rob the process itself or their efforts at ensuring that Rivers people get the best from this election. Because I also know from some videos that emanated from the local government collation centers that they actually went in there attending to that. So perhaps maybe they wanted to work with time. They don't have to keep us here. We have been here since morning, you remember. So they just went straight and then made these announcements.
So does it bother you that the usual order changed just for this LGA election? Don't forget, this is an emergency conduct. Does it bother you that the usual order didn't take place here?
Okay, when you mean order, are you talking about the resource management or the election itself put together? Because I know that the major concern that some of us within the civic space has against this election is that it doesn't meet some of the requirements of the Electoral Act, which is a minimum 150 days notice. But I want to clarify for many reasons. this is an interventionist election that is being held to ensure that there will be no vacuum at the grassroots when our beloved governor would return. So we are actually hopeful that he should be back in less than 3 weeks. In September. Now, if he does return, he wouldn't have the power that a sole administrator who has come with the marching orders to restore parity and reposition us on the path towards democratic governance after we our own problem. Our leaders were the ones that are responsible for what happened to us. They must take the responsibility. So they collapsed what ought to have happened in 150 days. And you have to give it to the board led by Dr. Michael Odey and the security agencies, the police, all of them, they actually put in a lot of work to see that this process, actually met the minimum standards, even though they collapsed a lot of things within 30 days. The figures that some persons I'm seeing begin to contest. We have it like this. I think about 1.9 million, if you put the figures together, registered voters participated in or contributed towards this election. It should have been more. But some persons actually opted to pull out. And in democracy, you don't force people to vote. That's why the bill that was being pushed in the National Assembly was shut down. You don't force people to actually vote. But those that had gone out yesterday to participate, their voices have been heard, and it is their voices that has given birth to what we have now come here to listen to.
Okay, let me ask you this. The PDP have had the short end of the stick, and the APC had like the fattest kill. So does this bother you? Does this send a message? Does this call for concern? Or is it a case of the people that worked hardest got the fattest part of the meat?
Well, I am not a politician, and I like to restrain myself to issues that border on peace advocacy and then civic mobilization. But what I can say is anytime politicians contest, anytime there is an election, like you rightly just argued, it is those who work the hardest. It is those who are on ground. It is those who make themselves available to the people to engage with the systems also. I say this because I am aware of an internal conflict within the APC structure. I wish I'm not supposed to touch but because of what you have asked, I'm tempted to want to. Now, a faction refused to be a part of the process from the beginning. So, RISEC did not participate in their primaries, and it is for the part of the guideline for RISEC to participate, to monitor it. Okay,
now, let me ask you this before you go further.
Okay.
APC is factionalized.
Okay.
A faction of it has not been given the right to vote.
No, that is the wrong impression. If you say have not been given
okay,
the right...
a faction of it did not participate in this election. Okay. Now, APC that stands divided in this poll is having so much votes. They are winning. And PDP that has participated, I mean, they have just the least. Doesn't it raise dust?
You have dragged me into this political arena. I wish again you didn't. But that's an internal APC issue. You notice that what is happening in APC is also happening in the Labour Party. So
okay, well, let's leave it at that.
Yes.
We're out of time now.
Yes.
Okay, so over to you. Thank you very much for joining us. So emergency election, whatever you like to call it, the elections have come and the results have been declared. It's now left for the electorate to hear whom their local government chairmen and councillors are.
All right, thank you so much, Biola Festus, for that update on the River State local government elections. We still have Barrister Elvis with us. Barrister Elvis, please, could you tell us what are your final thoughts on this subject matter?
My final thoughts are very simple. A democratic process cannot be rushed in the manner that this was done in Rivers. We know that it was less than 30 days notice, and that is, inconsistent with the Constitution. It is inconsistent with the provisions of the River State Electoral Commission relevant law, which guarantees up to about 90 days notice, because the people need to be prepared in order to be able to, be fully involved in a democratic process on elections such as this. And this wasn't done. And for me, this is unconstitutional. It is inconsistent with what we all know as the provisions of the Constitution with respect to holding of elections in the country. This is another assault on the local government system. We have seen governors across the country emasculating the government system, and we thought that the decision of the Supreme Court on the local government system would bring some succor. But politicians will always be politicians, and they have devised different means. And in Rivers, they have not gone to the extreme of bringing, a system that is not known to law to subvert everything that we all treasure in terms of democracy. This is unfortunate, and I want to blame the judiciary for this because the politicians will always be politicians. They will want to play the rule, in a different, in manners that we all may not be that may not be in line with the law, and that's where the judiciary is supposed to come in quickly as possible to ensure that the rules are set out and that politicians are forced to play by the rules. But when you rush to court, like we have seen in this particular case, and the tenure, the 6 months tenure is almost elapsing. By the time the Supreme Court comes back from vacation, I can guarantee you that what they're going to say will be the same thing as they said in the case of Plateau, where they said that the case has become academic. And we should not allow politicians to, play with us like this. The judiciary must, come up to ensure that they don't cow to the details of politicians, and so that the people, because that's the last hope of the common man. Politicians always play politics; they would do anything to win. But the judiciary must come out to mediate and ensure that everybody plays by the rules.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Elvis, for your input on this, the just concluded local government elections that took place in Rivers State.